Everybody's off. Everybody's muted. All right. So it's the top of the hour, folks. It is time to begin. I'm William. This is Brian Cohen, who's our guest speaker for today. We're going to have a little dialogue about cybersecurity. Before we dive into our agenda topics, a couple of quick rules of the road. So I'm going to talk about the rules of the road, which I'm doing now. I'm going to talk about some firm items, and then give a little bit of insight on our portfolios and stuff that we're up to, and timely factoids, and then we'll dive into the conversation with Brian. Following the conversation with Brian, we'll open up to Q&A. As always, for security, privacy, etc., all those wonderful things. We ask that you email in the questions to my email address because we can't see them in the chat, and chat actually should be turned off. And then the other item is for those that really just are fine with being immortalized on their question, go ahead and do a raise hand, and we'll unmute you. You can ask your question. So with that, time to begin. Everybody may notice that their mics are muted and their videos off. We finally figured out the security after a lot of trial and error in terms of last month, and it's overall conversation and the background noise and things that were going on. So we've gotten that sorted out, and then on to housekeeping. We have a big couple of months coming up. We've been doing a lot of housekeeping in office. Some of you may have noticed the way you log into your wealth management system is a little different. We did an update and we got through the other side of that update. We initiated that right after the call that we have each month, last month in March, and finished it just at the start of April. So this is going to give us a little bit better connectivity and hopefully some additional efficiencies as well in terms of password management and reactivity and making sure all the data matches up. So it's something that you all won't see on your side, except for maybe the link you use in which to access the account. So please make sure to update your bookmarks, or make sure that when you're logging in, you're using the link that is directly located on the Phillips Financial Strategies website. So that's the housekeeping. The other side of this little piece of housekeeping and segueing into portfolios, you may have noticed a few changes and updates to the website. So we are making updates to the website. We're working on getting some more videos up there for helpful dialogues. How do you access things? How do you reset your password? All that kind of stuff. It's all based on feedback that you all provided to us. In addition, now you can regularly schedule appointments. You'll notice that there's a button right on the homepage from a contact us standpoint, as opposed to just being able to bookmark the link. So we've got that up there. Next on our list, we're going to be putting some more information up about portfolios. And you'll see that coming soon, probably in the next few weeks, as soon as we get stuff through compliance. Next on our list, let's talk about portfolios for a quick minute. So February, March, the first quarter, we saw the interest rate wreck, or as it's been coined a couple of times, the Treasury train wreck. You saw the 10-year move over 75 basis points from the beginning of the year to its high point just before quarter close, and it's now settled back down right in the neighborhood between 0.65 and 0.7 in terms of a rise year to date. That has been really difficult on the fixed income side of the portfolios. Now, thankfully, if you're in a diversified fixed income portfolio, you didn't see much change in your account balance because not all factors of fixed income, short duration, long duration, high yield, low yield, convertible, non-convertible, will react the same way to those rising interest rates. As well as floating rate, that sort of thing. So the importance of having that diversified portfolio from a fixed income standpoint, if you did have that, you didn't see much change in your account balance. For those of you that have some money that you are managing yourselves, a TSP is a common culprit that we see for the work that we do, and the fact that literally the federal government is walking distance right outside the back door. That's where you may have seen a few pain points. The other thing is that we saw a nice recovery near the end of the quarter on the NASDAQ side with growth. And so that boasted really well for our portfolios. When you have really rapidly rising interest rates, oftentimes you'll see a sell-off in growth sector and those higher priced growth-based stocks, because now those same companies, when they have to go into the marketplace and raise money, they have to do so at a premium relative to the previous rate. And so that's where those changes have come into place. And those stocks, I'm happy to say, have, for the most part, rebounded quite nicely. We are also seeing on that same front, we're seeing a lot of vaccinations. So we're happen with regard to COVID-19. So we're seeing a number of places open up, loosen restrictions, allow for everything from more indoor dining to movie theaters to you name it, which is good because that means that consumers are going to feel comfortable spending again, as well as incorporating more hiring. And since the U.S. is primarily a consumer-driven economy, we've basically average household GDP, consumerism is roughly 68 to 72%, depending on the economic cycle of GDP in any given. So that's something to take into account. And with the fact that more people are going back to work, more people are spending, more people are feeling comfortable spending, which is the big thing. That's not to say that we shouldn't save and keep saving. We're savers. I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't tell you save, make sure you've saved enough, manage debt appropriately. So with that, we did also close out the quarter. And so we did a rebalance prior to quarter end because of the volatility. We will likely be doing another rebalance because of the volatility again, because we went down, we rebalanced, quarter has ended on us coming back to break even, and we'll likely, if that continues on an upward trend, we'll likely rebalance portfolios again. So keep an eye out for some trades. Also with quarter end and rebalancing, there are going to be some proxy voting letters that are going to occur, that are going to appear in your mailbox. Make sure that you fill those out, send them in, reach out to us if you want us to do anything with them. And the other thing is that if you don't want to see them in your mailbox, open them up, look in there. There's going to be an insert that will tell you specifically how, for that particular holding company reporting an entity, how to make that an electronic delivery directly to you. You will still get it through your NFS managed account, but keep an eye on it. You can at least eliminate one more piece of paper from your inbox. And by inbox, I mean your actual physical inbox, which maybe dates me just a skosh. Speaking of inboxes, it's time for me to segue into our guest speaker for this month. Our guest speaker is going to be Brian Cohen. Brian is our in-house kind of cybersecurity person that we work with. Brian and I go way back. We have some shared clients. There's a number of things. We both share a love of Macs and sarcasm number. And so with that, we're going to have a really great discussion today about how to keep your information safe when you're online, and why it is really kind of at our office, all sprinkled in some reasons that we do what we do for security reasons to make sure that we're protecting your information and that nothing's happening untoward at the end of the day, as best we can. And so if you help take some of these steps, you'll stay safe, we'll stay safe, and you'll keep your information protected. And maybe, just maybe, you'll make your computer run just a little bit better too. So with that, I think I've covered most of the stuff. Brian, tell us just a little bit about you, and I've got some questions that I'll fire away with kind of straight away.
All right, for those of you who may or may not know me, I'm Brian Cohen from BPC Consulting Alliance. My specialty is all things Apple, iPhone, iPad, Mac. I'm the one that William generally goes to with any of his Mac or iPhone related questions, concerns, issues. And I work with some people that he has referred me to as well. And I'm hugely honored to be able to help in any way that I can.
Thanks so much, Brian. So I'm going to dive into the big question that's on kind of everybody's mind. Well, at least on mine. Let's talk passwords. It seems like every time I turn around, I'm logged out of something. Password formats are changing. It was 6 characters, then it was 8 characters. I started seeing stuff now that's 13. So should I be making up my own passwords? Should, I use a password generator? At our office, we've made it standard practice to utilize LastPass. And that way, if anything happens to any of us, we've got LastPass at the end of the day. But for everybody else, should they be using a password generator? What are some of the key things?
Yes, you should be using a password generator. I personally use LastPass, and for some things on the personal side, I'll use Apple's built-in keychain. I personally use LastPass because it works with everything: iPhone, iPad, Mac, Windows, Firefox, Chrome, everything, where keychain is specific to the Apple-only apps. I've had about 3 or 4 people per month since the beginning of the COVID crisis get hacked because they're using the same password for everything, or variants of the same password. Anything that the human mind can create, the human mind can crack. I personally, with LastPass, choose randomly generated passwords, 25 to 30 characters, uppercase, lowercase numbers, and special characters. Impossible for most people's minds. I know my Apple ID password, my LastPass master password, and my Mac's password. Everything else is randomly generated. Also, I do recommend 2-factor authentication whenever possible.
So, and on the 2-factor side, like, what's better? Because I always go back and forth with this, and we've got a bunch of 2-factor pieces. But what's better? Is there a preference? Does it not matter between getting the 2-factor where they send you an email, or the 2-factor where they send you a text message or call you? One of the cool things that we have, I'll see if I can get it to show up on here, is that we have on our side, or at least my side for money movement and security, we have this thing called VIP access, where it turns my phone into a key fob. What's the difference between all these things? Is there any difference? Is the better question.
Yeah, there is a difference. That VIP access is great. I personally use LastPass's LastPass's Authenticator app, which is basically a Google Authenticator, except that it saves everything in LastPass. So if I have to get a new phone, all of those codes still work. Text messages are unencrypted and can be intercepted mid-transmission. Blue iMessage, which is Apple to Apple, cannot. However, authentication codes don't go via iMessage. They go via standard text message. Email, as I'm sure you know, is only as secure as the account it's hosted on.
Oh, yes.
So my preference is always a third-party authenticator app, such as LastPass or the VIP thing, without a doubt.
Yeah.
Over text message or email.
I know there's a thing, I think a Google Authenticator that I've started seeing as well.
If you need Google Authenticator, LastPass comes with the same Authenticator app for free as a part of your LastPass subscription.
Okay.
If I am allowed to do this, and I don't know, you tell me if I can or cannot actually do this.
You should be able to. We should have security features for you.
You see, I have DuckDuckGo for search, and I also use a LastPass authenticator. So if I wanted a code from whatever it was, I just copy it straight out of here. And this can be restored to a new device. It can be secured with Face ID and PIN code. And I have a copy of it on my iPad and a copy of it on my iPhone, so that if I lose one device, I can authenticate from the other. I've never lost a device, but I've definitely had them stop working, especially in one case when my iPhone got hit by lightning while I was driving.
Okay, you're going to have to tell me all about that offline, because now
I was
completely-
driving on the Beltway in a thunderstorm and lightning hit right next to my car. It ran right up through and shorted out my electronics.
Oh, wow. On that same note with the authenticator, since it's on the phone, we've got a lot of folks whom are a little bit older. So the idea of sort of like hunt and peck on the phone is not necessarily the easiest thing. Are they able to just like hold the phone up to their face, get the Face ID, and it just does the thing?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, yes and no. With Authenticator, which you see mine right here, if I've got this locked with Face ID, all I have to do is unlock it with my face and then type in the 6-digit code on the computer, not on the app.
Okay. So it's easy to use, and I don't have to,
It's
if I have
it's the same difference as a text message or email would be to enter onto the website, except that it's being generated from LastPass Authenticator on your phone.
Okay, good. So it's much more secure, because that's the big thing that I always get concerned about, because the next side of that is that I did mention we're getting vaccinated, which means, and summer's here, which means we're headed back to the coffee shop, we're headed back to the beach, we're headed back to all of those areas, and which may or may not present, since we're mobile and on the go. Now we're talking about public Wi-Fi and the Wi-Fi at the coffee shop or the library. And you have always told me, get a VPN, use a VPN. That's really important in terms of safety and security. I use a VPN, even when I'm on the airplane. It's been a while since I've done it. But
weren't you just flying last week, William?
I was, but I wasn't. We didn't have Wi-Fi on the plane. It was really weird. They were like, "Yeah, the Wi-Fi's out on the plane." So it's actually been a while since I've been able to do it. And it's not because, by the way, before anybody thinks, it's not because I flew Spirit or Frontier. I had to take care of some family business out in Montana. But normally I do it then, or when I'm staying in a hotel because I'm at a conference. So tell me a little bit about what's the real value behind doing that, like for those of us that are just out and about town. When I go to my hairstylist, does it matter?
Yes, it matters. If you go into a Starbucks and you are on your phone going to a banking app and you're on Starbucks Wi-Fi, some hacker can be sitting in Starbucks reading all traffic that goes in and out of their network simply because they're bored. I know plenty of people, especially now, who are bored out of their minds, who play games with public Wi-Fi. It's not worth the security risk. It's not worth your money. It's not worth your client's data. I would always tell you, if you're on a public Wi-Fi, use a VPN. Some of the better ones I have personally used over the last several years. I've used ExpressVPN. I personally right now have NordVPN. They're both very good. They just have different features that can be helpful in one situation or another. But I always would recommend using a VPN when on public Wi-Fi, or actually anyone's Wi-Fi other than your own that you might not trust. Okay. So even if I'm in your office, my VPN is still going to be on because I don't know who's connected to your Wi-Fi.
Probably fair. I mean, I know who's connected to my Wi-Fi because it's really hard to get connected to my Wi-Fi, but yeah. And like the way that I do that with public Wi-Fi, just kind of for every re-identification, like I always I connect and I do the agree, and then I turn the Wi-Fi on because it usually won't, or the VPN on because it usually won't let me agree with the VPN on.
That's ExpressVPN that does that.
Yeah. So yeah, that's what we use. And most VPNs I think are pretty cheap and they allow you multiple devices. Mm-hmm. Is that still the case?
It is. Some VPNs are more of a pain in the neck than others. For me, Express was a challenge because it wouldn't work with my car. So I had to use one that I could turn on and off automatically, whether I was on cellular or Wi-Fi. But Express is one of the most highly secured VPNs there is, yes.
So with that and covering your tracks, let's segue a little bit to one of my favorite things that I always come up with, which is all those little sniffers that are out there on the web that track where you go. I know that there's a security protocol coming up. Are there any tips and tricks for how I turn that off on my phone, or how I monitor or know that I'm being tracked when
Yes,
I'm out
there
there on
are.
the web? Because lately it seems like I think about a product that I want, and maybe I say something to someone. I'm at my friend's house and they have an Alexa, and then all of a sudden now I'm getting bombarded with ads for it.
The best thing that Apple is doing has been in the news since February. Apple started saying they were going to block ad tracking, and Facebook took out full page ads to argue with them. Why? Because people would now have to opt in to tracking, and they know that most people will not opt in. To find where that is, and yes, I'm running 14.5 on my iPhone, which is the software version that's going to release it, is if you go to settings and then privacy and then tracking, you can actually ask, do you want to allow apps to be able to track you? If you say yes, you'll see the prompt that says, Facebook would like to track you. Do you want to say yes or no? If you turn this off, you're saying blanket no. I have it on because I want to know exactly which apps are trying to track me and which ones aren't. This is the feature that Apple is talking most about in the news right now, that Apple and Google and all the others are going back with Facebook and WhatsApp and all. The other place that you're seeing it is with the App Store. Sorry, I was not prepared to think about for some reason. If I look at LinkedIn as an example, you see this column about data linked to you? This is all stuff that LinkedIn can harvest from your phone because it's installed on your phone. I would be a little concerned, considering who owns LinkedIn. I might be a little concerned about my financial info or my user content or my sensitive data or my contacts or my location being taken by LinkedIn without any real way to say no to it. Facebook is worse. LinkedIn has been owned by Microsoft for a couple of years now. So I don't know what your thoughts are, whether you're concerned about it or not, but each app you can find out what are they asking for and what do they need. If you think LinkedIn is bad, find one of the Google apps, or better yet, take a look at Facebook. They can track you with your contact info, your other data, and your identifiers, and look at all the data that's linked to you by Facebook. Keep in mind that Facebook owns WhatsApp, which means WhatsApp is just as susceptible to this as anything from Facebook. So just food for thought. Can I give one other tidbit that's coming with 14.5 that people may enjoy?
Most definitely.
I don't know about people here and how you feel about, we're all wearing masks and we all have trouble unlocking our Face ID iPhones, right?
Oh, you bet.
Do you see the second one down here that says unlock with iPhone?
Yes.
That means that unlocking my watch can be done with the iPhone. But with 14.5, the unlocked phone can now unlock the unlocked watch can now unlock the phone as well.
Okay.
So if sorry about that.
That's all right. So basically what you're saying is you're saying that my 5-year-old Garmin, now I'm going to have to upgrade to a new iWatch.
Maybe. Do you see unlock with Apple Watch?
Not on my end.
Oh, no, on my phone,
yeah.
It's on share.
Let's change.
Use a secure connection to your Apple Watch to unlock your iPhone when a mask prevents Face ID from recognizing your face. Your watch must be nearby, on your wrist, unlocked, and protected by a passcode for it to work.
Yep.
That's coming whenever 14.5 comes out to the public.
Absolutely. And speaking of protection and our passcodes, I'm always wary about this, but what's your take on the whole 10 passcode erased all the data on my phone? Some nefarious character gets a hold of my device.
Erase all data after 10 failed passcode attempts.
Yeah, should we have that on, or you think or does it not really matter? I mean, in my case, because there's a lot of information there.
I'm going to, pardon me if this sounds bad, and I know I'm on a recorded webinar, but I'll say it anyway.
Yeah.
It is not just you, William. My retired mother had her phone stolen, and because that was off, they were able to steal her identity. It's not about you and all of the private stuff that you interact with as much as who's in your contacts, and can somebody get enough information about you to steal your information. Normally I would have a regular 14 or 15 character password to unlock my iPhone. And when this fails, when there were 10 in a row, on the 11th try, it would wipe my phone.
Right.
Right now, I'm only using a 6-digit passcode because of the whole mask thing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something to be aware of. The Apple Watch unlocking the iPhone is only for unlock purposes. It doesn't work everywhere Face ID works, purely on the unlocking piece.
Gotcha.
So if I'm trying to enter a password somewhere, my watch is not going to validate that. It's only validating for unlock.
Okay. That's good, because it helps keep all of our stuff secure.
And I would tell you that setting being on is one of the most basic privacy things you can do for yourself.
Okay. And from a security feature, that and since all of these networks and things are only as secure as the people using them and configuring them, that's a big part of one of the things why y'all will hear from us saying anytime there's personally identifiable information involved with a request, that we're voice verifying it, because we can't come up with a more efficient, foolproof way to confirm that you're you without just picking up the phone and calling and making sure that you're you. Your email can get hacked. As Brian mentioned, your SMS text message can get hacked, all those kinds of things. And so, because of what we deal with sensitivity wise, that's an issue. My father got hacked. My 80-year-old father got hacked in some way. Somebody opened up an account on his behalf in Atlanta to use their cable bill or something.
Can I make a clarification to something? Yeah. SMS can be hacked. That's the green text messages. However, iMessage is end-to-end encrypted and not hackable from the outside. So if it's Apple device to Apple device is end-to-end encrypted, but the green ones are not.
Gotcha. So one last thing on here, we've talked actual, laptop, desktop, we've talked phone. In terms of security, things looking forward, I'm thinking about shifting more and more to my iPad, because conversation-wise, you and I have talked about the sandbox of the app. One thing can't go to the other and that kind of thing. Does that remain true on some of these new things that are coming out? Like, should I be using my iPad more and more as a security device? Because I know when they first came out, there were, some security flaws and there was some other stuff.
I'm going to tell you flat out, the Mac and the newer Macs and the iPad have equal level of security and sandboxing. You may or may not know this, but Apple is in the process of transitioning away from Intel as processors for the Mac. They're using what's called the M1 Mac. It's the same chip that's in here that's in Macs. Currently, only the Mac Mini and low-end MacBook Pros and MacBook Air have it. Sometime this year, the high-end MacBook Pros and iMac will get it. On that M1 chip, the Mac can run iPad and iPhone apps directly.
Okay.
But not the Intel ones, only the M1 Mac or newer.
Okay.
So if it's M2 or whatever they call it, only Apple's ARM processor will be able to do that.
So we'll get more safety and security at the end of the day for
They already have. Big Sur creates that a lot in the Mac OS. So one of the things that I get asked regularly is, Well, I don't want to update my computer. I don't like dealing with things. Tough. That's how Apple puts security updates in. There have been major security updates in the Mac OS recently. 11.2.2, which is, or 11.2.3 is the current software version right now. All that update did was close two holes that hackers were actively exploiting in Safari and other web-based services.
Right. And then kind of last but not least, one of the things that I've seen or that we use at our office, because we do use Google services for Google for Business, at least for the time being. I have it set up so that way only specific devices can access certain things. Is that, I know of it for Google, are there other companies that allow for that? So that way, for the benefit of our other users, whether they be helping the parents or family members out or friends and neighbors where, hey, look, in order for us to access this, like you're going to have to, you can actually allot specific devices.
Yes, and you can also, with in the Apple ecosystem, remember that they use two-factor codes for signing in. Mm-hmm. So if you have family sharing turned on, as an example, you can control what your other family members can and cannot access and which devices they can sign into, because you have to provide a code before they can even sign in with another device. Mm-hmm. And that's part of parental controls. Personally, I find that's more applicable with children controlling things for their senior parents than it is a parent controlling things for a teenager, simply because teenagers tend to outwit those, whatever is created, teenagers tend to figure it out. Older parents do not.
Okay. I have a family member that if she gets an email and it looks like it's from the bank, like she's clicking on it.
Yeah, my mother did that. She clicked on a link from someone claiming to be Amazon, that they were going to give her for free a brand new MacBook Pro as a Christmas present.
Yep. And then, yeah, after that, it's all over. So, but that's the stuff that you and I sit through. That's all high level. But it's really, it pertains to everybody on the call and listening to this thing later. It's really about, don't click on things you don't know. Don't give out your usernames, passwords. Two-factor authentication, device management are really big. So that way you can know who's on your network, whether it's at home or whether you're out and about, who's piggybacking and getting into your devices. Setting up.
Can I drop one in that if you're working with a client or you're working with an elderly somebody, and they say, oh yeah, I'm great with passwords. I don't want LastPass. I want just whatever's easiest. I won't use it. Make sure you look at their corkboard right in front of their computer and see if they have a list of their passwords taped up right behind their computer. I'm still having that battle regularly with someone that William and I both know.
Fair enough.
As well as my mother. So if you're dealing with an older person, as people say about follow-up, the best system is the one that you're going to actually use. I don't care if you use Keychain or anything other than Google's Chrome service for passwords, so long as they actually use it and generate.
Exactly. One of my favorites is the notebook. I have a client that carries around a little notebook like this. But anyway, with that, we're right at a little bit after 5:30. I do want to open it up the floor to questions. I'm going to take a quick peek at my email. Anybody who wants to can raise their hand. I should be able to see it. But let's see if we've got anything that's popped up. Let's see here. All right. So far, no questions on this one. Give me one quick second. We'll take another look. All right. You can click back in here. so I can see any hands raised. All right. I don't have any hands raised. Charles, can you do me a favor, or Mariah, can somebody, one of you guys raise your hands? I want to make sure that from our security features, you all are actually able to raise your hands. And I'm not missing anything. All right. Cool. I do see if Mariah was able to. All right, great. So our permissions, we didn't block everybody from doing that. So with that, I don't see any other hands raised. If you guys have any questions, feel welcome to contact me directly. If any questions about our security protocols and some of the stuff that we do and best efforts we put forward to make sure either we're keeping your data safe, or advice that we give to folks to keep their data safe, who work with us. If you want to work with Brian, obviously reach out to him at BPC Consulting. Brian, if you want to put your website up on there, you're welcome to. You've got screen sharing privileges.
Hold on,
Or,
I'll just change
or
mine.
reach out to us directly, and we'll make sure we get you referred. Hang on, I'll let it pop up here for a second. So
Just changing my background to one that has my contact on it.
good plan. So with that, it looks like it's time to end. And what I will say to everybody is, staying safe and being safe, and not getting any viruses is not just limited to COVID-19. It's also for stuff on your electronic devices. So be safe. If you've got any questions, reach out. I'm more than happy to answer them. With that, it's time to end. We will see you all again next month. And if you've got any other questions related to my comments at the top of the hour, again, always feel free to reach out, schedule something on the website, or reach out to us directly. So with that, adios, everybody, and have a great evening.